Ayo, keep it high, keep it tight. It's JMorser, review guy, back to bring you another video. So if you tuned into my GeoGuessr video, episode 4, which was just up yesterday, you will know that I said that I was working on something big that I wanted to get out soon. And there's a reason that my content has been slowing down a little bit, has been a bit more mellow, I'd say, a little bit less edited heavily. And the reason for that is I have been working on something pretty big. So I opened up my Discord to some people, and I have like about 20-ish members, and I might do a video, open it up to you guys soon. But I was asking for some list-oriented videos because I wanted to do a grouping of videos where I opened up about interests, about opinions, about bands and artists and genres for a week straight of a pretty much every day some sort of list video regarding a subject. A couple of them are ones that I personally wanted to do that I'm going to be putting forth, but all the rest of them pretty much are decided by some of my fans, my loyal subscribers, so I thank you if you're watching this video, and expect every single day until next Friday for there to be some sort of list video. That doesn't necessarily mean there's not going to be an album review. If I can fit it in and have the time to do it, if there's like a really good album that releases, I will give you guys that update and do that. But for now, we're just going to dive right into it. So this is one of the ones I picked, and it's one of the ones that was a little bit difficult to pick for me, because a lot of times I have a definitive type of idea for something that I want to do. Well, this is my top 5 favorite deathcore bands. So if you know me, I listen to a lot of different types of genres. But one of my favorite genres is heavy metal, and probably my favorite genre within metal is deathcore. And there are a lot of bands in it, and I've done multiple videos about if deathcore is alive, I've done track reviews, I've covered albums, tons of things surrounding this heavy genre. And for this video, I wanted to kind of try in my own mind to say which ones I thought were the best. Now, there are tons of honorable mentions, and I know there's one thing I gotta say about all these lists. These are all my opinion, and if you don't agree with that, that's fine. Post yours. I would love to hear yours. I would love to hear how yours differ from my list, but I'm sorry, my lists are going to be a bit unconventional, and the reason I'm saying that is, spoiler alert, Suicide Silence and Whitechapel are not on this list. And for those of you that aren't really experienced in the genre, those are the two front runners, and I can already just feel and see mentally the people disliking this video because of knowing that. But bear with me, I'll try to give kind of brief explanations of why I like each. So, number 5 is going to be Chelsea Grin. So, Chelsea Grin, they just released a bit ago a track that I covered on my series track review entitled, I believe it was called See You Soon. And recently they have the vocalist from Lorna Shore. I forget his name, but they have the vocalist from Lorna Shore. That is another deathcore band. And the thing about Chelsea Grin is they're a deathcore band that is super heavy. And that's saying something, because this whole genre is heavy. Chelsea Grin's different. They have a constant heaviness that kind of goes sometimes above other ones, and they're consistent. You go throughout their catalog, and you get things like Self-Inflicted and My Damnation, and just, I don't know, they have some really consistent albums in their discography that really kind of instill the fact that they're a deathcore band that is just pure deathcore. And a lot of times you get these deathcore bands that try to experiment, go a bit more technical, go a bit more proficient with what they're doing, and like you'll see later on this list, sometimes I like those more. But a lot of times, if I just want to hear just balls to the wall deathcore music with the heavy breakdowns, the pig squeals, the shrieks, the growls, the gutturals, the lows, the highs, the just explosive guitar playing, just everything that could, the blast beats, the tremolo picking, the arpeggios that come with the deathcore genre as a whole, which I consider myself to be pretty well versed on when it comes to bands. Out of all of the bands that fall into the quote-unquote cookie cutter type of deathcore bands, which are the ones that kind of cling more toward that classic, somewhat norm feel for the genre, I would pick Chelsea Grin over a lot of other ones, such as Suicide Silence, such as Whitechapel. and I know that will probably get me a lot of hate. And at the end of the video, I'm going to go over some honorable mentions because there's quite a few. But moving on from there, number 4 is going to be Impending Doom. So Impending Doom just released a fantastic album, The Sin and Doom Volume 2, and I covered that pretty much right away, and I gave that an amazing review. They are a Christian deathcore band, so if you are, see, it's kind of a stereotype that a lot of metal music has like Satan type of satanic themes or occult themes, but that's not true for all of them, and if you delve into the lyricism, you'll find out otherwise. Impending Doom likes to say that they are quote-unquote goreship, which is like worshiping God through their gorish type of music, and they're a very heavy deathcore band. Heavier than, in a lot of ways, than a lot of others. Maybe sometimes more than Chelsea Grin at times. And funny enough, Chelsea Grin's new song sounds a lot like Impending Doom, in my opinion. And Impending Doom, they're amazing. As someone who's a Christian, it is amazing to hear those lyrical themes. And even if it wasn't, even if it didn't have any religious themes at all in the lyrics, whether it be the whole satanic stereotype, whether it be Christianity, whether it be Hinduism, Buddhism, there's so many themes of religion in music, especially heavy metal. That's a big thing that is covered by a lot of bands. Impending Doom, if they had none of that, I would still put them on this list, probably at the same spot, because they just make some great music. Very heavy. The vocalist is a very talented guy, and when it comes to his just low, destructive gutturals, which is what I can notice by listening to the band, notice that he goes above and beyond to really perfect those just destructive low gutturals that roar over these just explosive instrumentals that just carry from song to song, and they're a great deathcore band, and that's why they're on this list. So number 3 is going to be Within the Ruins. So Within the Ruins, they released an album last year, and it was entitled Halfway Human. I actually have it. I have that album. I forget where it is over there, but I have that album, and it is more progressive metalcore, and it's definitely more progressive metalcore, and it still has a lot of those classical deathcore feelings that Within the Ruins fans would know and love, because when you go back throughout their discography and you get albums such as Elite, such as Invade, these just progressive metalcore deathcore hybrids that have this djent feel, you'll see a kind of recurring theme throughout the rest of this list, but this djent feel, this heavy feel, this just amazingly technically proficient, flawless playing. It Within the Ruins also has something that I don't hear a lot of other bands have. They have this strange way of playing the djent subgenre, which is kind of like progressive music, and they make it sound like this jilted, a bit off guitar playing, and it really works well. And Within the Ruins has my second favorite deathcore album of all time, Phenomena. That album, I believe it came out in 2013, I'm wanting to say. I might be wrong with that, but either way, it's a fantastic album. From the first time I heard that intro tapping riff in the lyrics, that they drew first blood just like I knew they would. I mean, they start that album off so well, and Within the Ruins is such a technically proficient progressive deathcore band with metalcore influences that I really love. So, number 2 is going to be Born of Osiris. So, along the same lines as Within the Ruins, Born of Osiris, on the other hand, they are definitely more progressive metalcore nowadays. I can't deny that. Originally, they were much more deathcore, especially with the release of The Discovery. The Discovery really just set them on a bar that no one else could reach them when it came to deathcore music, and it kept them on that pedestal until they released their 2013 album, Tomorrow We Die Live, and then following that, Soulsphere, which came out in 2015. I own both of those albums. They went more towards a progressive metalcore feel, but they still had a lot of those deathcore stylings, such as Within the Ruins did with Phenomena for pretty much throughout their entire discography. Born of Osiris is the same way, only Originally, they were pretty much full-on deathcore, and then they moved towards a more kind of metalcore, deathcore hybrid, and I think it works great. And much like Within the Ruins again, they have a lot of djent in their style, especially in the breakdowns. They have a lot of technical playing, and you'll notice that, oh boy, the progressive fan is choosing deathcore bands that have progression in their music. I'm sorry about that. But number one, and I don't think this is going to come as a surprise if you've like watched some of my deathcore videos. Oh, I'll put something here to the side. Number one is Veil of Maya. Veil of Maya created my favorite deathcore album of all time. Don't know if you can see that. It's Eclipse. And this album, it's by far my favorite deathcore album. 100%. This is by far one of my most played records. And it's fantastic. And it's not just this album, it's this band in general. And see, much like the other two, they have that djent feel. They have that thing where they go kind of progressive metalcore later on, especially with Matriarch, especially with their newest album, False Idol, which is right... Oh, I said it right here. I kept some of the albums that I was wanting to talk about to the side. This album right here. They definitely went more progressive metalcore. I can't deny that. And I don't think it's necessarily bad because this band has two stages of their career. Much like Within the Ruins and Born of Osiris, they have that thing where they kind of mix the progressive metalcore with some of their deathcore elements that were their stylistic origins that kind of blend in, because once you make that type of music, it's hard to break out fully if you're kind of near it, and I'd consider progressive metalcore a close brother of deathcore, and just metalcore and deathcore in general are pretty close together, with just slight differences if you listen to the music long enough to be able to tell the difference. And Veil of Maya has two stages. They have the deathcore stage, and then they have the metalcore stage. And the metalcore stage has different stylings of the deathcore thing, but the deathcore thing is just the deathcore thing, if that makes sense, what I just said. Basically, the deathcore was the deathcore. The metalcore has elements of the deathcore. So if you go throughout the discography, if you listen to their earlier stuff, you will see some of those vocalizations and the instrumentations come out with albums like Matriarch and False Idol. I didn't really like Matriarch, I'm going to be completely honest, but it's probably... I wouldn't say it's much of a disappointment. It was a good album. I just think that it was a kind of disappointment when you consider what they did on False Idol, because False Idol, on the other hand, is a great album. I mean, it really is a good album, but Eclipse, man. Eclipse is by far my favorite deathcore album of all time, and I don't see it going away anytime soon when it comes to that. So, I mean, when you have other bands, you have like... like As Blood Runs Black, Despised Icon, Oceano, The Red Chord, Winds of Plague, Rings of Saturn. Did I mention Rings of Saturn? I don't think I did. Amur, Suicide Silence, Whitechapel, Early Bring Me the Horizon. Just so many deathcore bands. All Shall Perish. Carnifex. I listen to a lot of deathcore, so narrowing this down to 5 was extremely difficult, but I managed to do it, and I'll see you guys next time for the next episode of List Week. But go ahead, put in the comments below, what's your top 5 favorite deathcore bands, or just bands in general? Do you have ideas for List Week? I already have a bunch in my mind that I want to do, but go ahead and let me know if you want in the comment section below. I'll talk to you guys next time, but until then, my name is Jay Morris, the Review Guy, and I'm signing off saying farewell.
Oh no. What your mama gonna say when I tell her that I broke no heart? It's just things not the way that they used to be. Oh no, now you crying on the bathroom floor and I guess it's the end. Well, I lost my mind and I lost my best